Coming up, Paws and Pints, unleashing dogs and building community at Neptune Beach's Dog Park Plus Bar. We're turning the mic over to local operator and visionary developer of BrewHound Dog Park Plus Bar, Lauren Wyckoff. But first, a tasty musical treat from one of Jacksonville's very own Firewater Tent Revival. Hello, Jacksonvillians. I'm your host, Ian Brown. This is the Jacksonville Commercial Real Estate Show, where we bring you dynamic local entrepreneurs, deal makers, thought leaders that are ready to dive deep and unpack our local commercial market so you can invest with greater confidence and accelerate your own success. This show is lovingly produced by yours truly and Yield Coach Capital. To stay up to date on Jacksonville's nuanced commercial real estate market, real estate events, and real estate investment opportunities, go to investwithacoach.com, answer a couple questions, and join the team. Today, I'm here with Neptune Beach legend and visionary developer of BrewHound Dog Park, Lauren Wyckoff. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to start with a burning question, and that is, what gave you the doggone inspiration to start a dog park plus bar in Neptune Beach, Florida?
Well, I would have to say my dogs first and foremost, but it was kind of that feeling of, where can I be with my dogs in a environment that they're also enjoying, because there's a lot of dog friendly places, or maybe bring your dog to a brewery kind of setting, but is your dog really having the most fun? And as I was frequenting dog parks, I would find myself like getting bored and seeing others that are kind of there out of routine, like, okay, yeah, I got to get this in, but not really enjoying the time. Which led me to more questions like, why isn't there coffee at the dog park? Like, why isn't there like a coffee truck? Or, why can't you have drinks? And kind of told myself the common answers of, oh, well, it's probably liability or this or that. But I actually didn't know until I started like diving in and, but they were the inspiration for it all, and like wanting to have that kind of community aspect, enjoying the place where I'm in, where they're also enjoying themselves.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were first to market. You were first to Jacksonville, right? With this concept?
Yeah, essentially, with what we have going on here specifically. Yeah. And it's we learn so much every day.
And for those that aren't watching this episode, you'll notice we're actually in BrewHound right now. So I didn't say this during the intro, but we're mixing it up. We're at the park. I'm trying this live in the field in the wild thing. And you're going to hear some dogs. You're going to hear some wind, but we're having fun. It's authentic. So,
Yield Coach on the road.
On the road, baby. Well, obviously this place, I have a soft spot in my heart for BrewHound, and I am very proud of what you've been able to accomplish. It was like a bold, fairly renegade maverick move. And by God, even those that told you don't do it, I'm glad you didn't listen, because you have a very special thing here.
Well, and I have to also acknowledge that, you did help facilitate, the land purchase here, which was a big aspect of, wanting to own the land that we built this place on. So thank you for that. And yeah,
my pleasure. And thanks to Lauren, you don't have apartments here. Although, didn't we talk about like Airstreams with some cafe lights?
Yeah, we talked about things.
Yeah.
And we are closed today, just as a heads up. So you might hear some barking, but not as much as you normally would.
Yeah. Here we are. I can think of a million things, but in your own words, like, what do you feel sets BrewHound apart from other like animal friendly destinations in North Florida?
Yeah, I would say that like here specifically, like, yes, it's a dog park, and we put the dogs first. It's not like a human spot where you bring your dogs. It's like we care about the dogs, number one, and then we have all these creature comforts for the humans as well. But really, it's like a bigger picture here. It's the community connection. It's, hosting events to support that, our community, the needs that we have in our community, whether it be dog rescues, whether it be, Jack's Mission House, feeding the hungry. Like, we just want to do more. It's like, come here, come together, but also to do something bigger with each other, in your community, in your, just the people that surround you, with your neighbors, like loving those surrounding you and helping build that and supporting other small local business. Like everything that we kind of have here is trying to support another business in our community with our markets, all of that stuff.
I mean, as I sit here right now, I see your fire pit over there and your TV screens that are usually off because people are talking.
Yeah, unless it's football. Yeah,
it's football season, right? It's such a, for those that want to hear more of an origin story, we did an interview about a year and a half ago with Lauren, and you can look that up under the Yield Coach platform. But I know we talked about what an incredible, and I don't know how intentional you were. You maybe speak to this, the community side of it. Like you said, you can go to a dog park, you can go get a beer somewhere. Some places allow you to get a beer and bring your dog, but this is a totally different animal here. How much of the community building was like on your mind from the get-go?
That was a big thing. Like I always wanted to have a space. Like I always wanted what, and then it developed into this. But initially, like years and years and years ago, it was always like I wanted to like have a coffee shop or something where I was like bringing people together with like a common interest. And here it's dogs, to do something bigger, to go out into the world and do more. Whether that be involves going on hikes together. Just something to where you're building with each other and communing and allowing, all of your creative juices to fire with others. And that, I think it could also just be in like a friendship setting. People meet here and become like lifelong friends. We've had people get married, and I always wanted to have the events here to kind of facilitate that, but I didn't foresee as much as it has. And that has been like, I can cry talking about it, like seeing like, I use this analogy sometimes that we'll have like, this, for example, one woman, Susan, who's been coming here since we opened, she's 65 and she's got all these buddies from their like teenage years, 20s, 30s, 40s. And her daughter comes and is like, my mom is the most popular woman, and she's got all these friends now of all these varying age groups and backgrounds, which happens so frequently here, which is not something I foresaw happening. Like you don't realize people don't necessarily get to connect on those different levels, and they have this common interest of dogs being outside in a local, setting, and then they come together and, and that's so beautiful. And so the community aspect I was, interested in and supporting other, but like that piece I didn't really foresee, and that like can move me on a daily basis.
I think I have a question somewhere in my list of like, a fond memory, or a little anecdote or story. You mentioned, I remember one time you told me there was somebody, first of all, BrewHound Dog Park is a killer social media follow. So if you don't follow them, do that.
Just brings joy to your day.
Yeah, well, and so, but you were saying there's people that come from far, far away, and like they've been following you for a long time. They make a trip.
Yeah.
Sometimes without dog, they just want to come get a taste of it.
Yeah. And it's oftentimes maybe I don't even know about it, but many times they'll like seek me out, or I'm usually here, and they'll ask questions or tell one of my referees. And I'm so intrigued. Like people have come from like Alaska, and I'm like, what?
Really?
They're like, yeah, we found you. And I'm like, wow, thank you. Like, that's amazing. And, they'll come check it out. They're just so curious. And other people are interested in like opening similar concepts elsewhere after following us or coming here. So it's interesting. It's fun to meet people from all over.
I'm going to say this now because we're going to come back to it in a few minutes, but we do have an important announcement in this episode. So if you're driving or you're watching on YouTube or whatever, hang in till the end. We have an announcement, but I can't break stride. I got to stick with my flow. Yeah, I'm not that skilled of a host. I got to just keep going with my notes here. So as I look at a place like this, it's like the blend of alcohol and people and dogs,
coffee,
and
tea,
coffee.
Kava.
What there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of humans involved. You have a lot of like employees. There's a fair amount of labor and coordination. You have a lot of events. What I'm getting at with the question here is it more difficult than you would have imagined going in to juggle all that is BrewHound? Because now you have really nice, you had Last Revel and some big bands come through here. And so I think I wouldn't be shocked to see you really on the map in the near future. It's already happening as like a concert venue, and you've had some cool concerts. So what I'm getting at is that undertaking, you built community, you have so much going on in one space. How hard is that?
Well, I don't sleep at night. I love it. Like it absolutely fills me up. It is difficult. It's definitely difficult. I also have a lot of help. Like I have over 32 employees, and they are a big reason why people come here. It's the heart that they bring. It's the love. Like, they know dogs when they're walking in the gate, like they know their names. So it's a lot of what they're doing and bringing to the table. And I have great support with my park director, Maddie, and my operations manager, Robert, and my yard manager, and everybody that works here, my basically full-time bar staff. They all help me come up with ideas, facilitate so much, and execute, even things like decorations. Like, I'm looking at the shop today. We decorated for Harry Potter Day this past weekend. And yeah, so much. It is a lot. It is a lot of moving parts and pieces. And I try to like get to everybody and answer all the questions that I can, but often, it's just the nature of the beast. But I do have, it's having a great support team to help you that makes it all happen.
It may be hard to itemize the top couple, but what were some of like the bigger unforeseen challenges that you had? Go back in time a handful of years. Like, what were
opening or like operating?
Well, that's a fair question, because now you've been running for a little while. Let's say with the launch phase, because that kind of ties into maybe what we might talk about with your announcement.
Launch phase, I would say, kind of having those conversations with whatever city you're in, particularly our city, Neptune Beach, having those conversations about this kind of newer concept and trying to like have people understand what that's going to look like, how it's going to run, so that you can get all the permitting you need. Development is always a moving beast of, time frames and, again, and permits along the way. Funding is always one of those things, one of those big questions. Interest rates and insurance, those are the big things. So like permits, which involve the city conversations of wherever you are, insurance, funding. Yeah, like those are the big items.
And I know here you had to pursue a rezoning, because this concept is not, people didn't draft their muni code and their zoning laws with this use in mind. It's kind of a crossover use. So I know you had to get your PUD.
So yeah, not, I didn't have to rezone, but I had to it was like a conversation of, where do we put this? Like,
okay,
this exactly, like, didn't have a niche. Right. And so they were like, what do we do here? And so that involved a lot of conversations with a lot of different people at the city to fine tune where we could manipulate essentially to fit. So yeah, that was interesting.
So if somebody were to, go open, or you were to open another park in another location, if somebody wanted to do a similar concept, they probably need to plan for some sit down meetings with the local municipality, because you're not going to fall neatly in their zoning code. You may or may not need a rezoning. Give yourself time for that.
Correct.
Plan for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
And then I imagine that, so I have a traditional commercial real estate background with appraisal and brokerage and law. On the appraisal side, the hardest appraisals were the ones that were special purpose. You don't really have comps for it, and not even just the sales comps. You don't even know like revenue comps, expense. You don't have comps really for anything. And so was it a challenge to build a business model, go to a bank and say, here's what we're going to do, and support it, because they can't see it elsewhere in the marketplace?
It was extremely hard. And at the time, there was two similar concepts. One was in Seattle, and it was an all indoor space that allowed you to have dogs off leash. They served liquor, and beer. So similar, not the same. And then there was another one in North Carolina that again was like more of an indoor space, same kind of dogs off leash, but not exactly the same. And it was hard to communicate with those folks to ask some questions, and not to any fault of their own. But yeah, like two out of like, if you're opening a coffee shop, it's like, there's so much data. And so it was hard. And I had to do a lot of like fine tuning and finessing and my own research based on similar, which would just be a coffee shop or a bar. And so I had to kind of fine tune all of these pieces into my business plan and financial projections that could make sense to defend what I wanted to create, what we wanted to create here. And that was basically a lot of conversations, having a lot of conversations with a lot of different banks, And you had suggested specifically like contacting more of like local banks, like that have, just not only local branches, but local support, and that, they have to understand your vision and want to support it. And that's kind of how you get there.
So for those that are considering something like this, would you on the spectrum of passive to active investment, where would you categorize a BrewHound style concept?
It's pretty active.
Pretty active.
It's pretty active. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And luckily, I remember, obviously, we've known each other for a long time, going back to our Florida State days in Tallahassee, go Knowles. When you were managing Momo's Pizza, I feel like you were like getting your chops, on like
Yes.
managing people.
Yes.
And that was a fun environment. It was a pizza
And I
place in a
learned
college
lot.
town. Yeah.
I did.
And now you kind of get to evolve and flex those skills,
And to create a
as
space
Queen Bay.
that my employees like love, hopefully to be on a day-to-day basis. Like we loved being there, and so there's a lot of things and like tools in the arsenal that I didn't even realize that I was like utilizing, that I learned in Tallahassee, and that was awesome.
I was thinking of that expression while you said that, like if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but it's like I feel like almost everything I've seen you do for decades now, like you've either done that or you've worked towards it. You got, what I mean? So like I know you did some environmental work and some stuff in between, but I mean, from your restaurant management days to now and everything in between, like, you can probably spend, I won't say every minute of your life, you can probably spend a lot of time here and it won't feel
Exactly
like work.
True. And I talk about that a lot. Like, yeah, I was an environmental scientist for 14 years, but there's so many aspects of like, I get to be outside all day. Like that's one of my biggest requirements in life. Like I just want to be outside. And so I personally, and the folks that work here, like get to be outside all the time, like in the elements, kind of makes you a little more of a rugged person. But just all these like endorphins from nature we get to like take in, and then it's always different. Like no day is the same, no energy of an individual is the same, no energy of a dog is the same. And so then the interactions of all of that together, intermixed with whatever weather is being brought to us, like it's just this like beautiful conglomeration of something new on every day. And and then, mix in like events or, different conversations that people have. And like, I get to bring my beautiful little boy here every day. He's always barefoot and running around, and, he meets friends and he's hanging out. Like it is, I'm here like having meetings or interviews or, employee evaluations, doing scheduling, whatever it might be, payroll, but I'm like loving the space I'm in. And then I get to like, piece off and have conversations with folks. And so, yeah, I definitely don't feel like I'm working, but it might not be for everybody, but I do love it so much.
Well, you say it's not for everybody, but would you say, I know because you and I are close and we're friends for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of people will come here and look around and maybe think like, okay, see some pavers. What is that? Some fake grass and some fencing. There's some beer over there. Like, let's do it. Do you feel people maybe underestimate the difficulty in getting something like this?
Yeah.
And keep it going.
And that's, I guess, why I say maybe it's not for everybody, because I think there is, and that's such a beautiful compliment. Like I initially, when I would hear it, I would sometimes take offense, like anybody could do this. And I'd be like, do you know what I've done? But like truly that is such a compliment, because it seems so flawlessly and effortlessly run and executed that folks walk in and they go, cool, easy peasy. And and that's definitely not the case. And it's not everybody that thinks that, but it is such a compliment to how, the place is run and how things are, being implemented. And I appreciate that so much. But yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of infrastructure. We are closed today on Mondays for so much of that. Those pieces that kind of have to come together to create this magic that happens the rest of the week.
It feels like the perfect time, I think, to segue. And I don't want to take your thought. That now, drum roll, Sammy can do the editing if she wants, but we can go ahead with your special announcement for this episode.
So we've had a lot of folks along the way ask these questions. We want to franchise. You need to franchise. We want to franchise, one of your parks. So we want to open a BrewHound here or there. Again, beautiful compliment, but that's not the direction I've chosen to go in, because I want, like I have created here, this space that is my own. I want people to create their own space. And if they want to do it with this concept, that's awesome. However, they can then customize it to what they think is important and the needs in their community. It doesn't have to have my name on it. I can help them facilitate opening their own by consulting with them for it, for their own park. So
You heard it here, folks. Lauren Wyckoff of BrewHound is opening some consulting, and she can help you launch your dog park and bar.
yeah.
All
Yes, exactly. And it's like, it's so exciting to me. I'm already working with some folks, actually in our, the town of our alma mater. And so
right.
it's very,
Leon.
yes. And it's just, it's really exciting because I get to see somebody else's vision and help them execute it with their creative input. And then also give them insight for the things that I have dealt with that, you know, can be concerns, layout, design, you know, training. Like we have tiers of consulting for whether it be hourly to help you with just, you know, hey, I've got some questions. I'm meeting with the city, just need a little bit of your time. Want to, you know, boom, we can just do an hourly rate. And then we also have tiers like, and they go by the names of trees. So it's like the seedling phase. And it's like, okay, that's up until, you know, you're growing and opening. And then we can add on to that to the point where, you know, basically the mature tree is we come out to your facility after you open. Not only do we help you facilitate all of those meetings, all of those projections, you know, talking with banks up into opening, and then we will also come out and train your employees on how to safely manage this yard, your yard, the dogs, how to run your bar, all of these things that, I mean, can help you get the insurance that you need, because liability insurance is a huge thing. And you also want to ensure safety. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility to own a place like this, where these are people's children that are coming to play. And just like if you owned a daycare or a school, like they are your priority, and you have to make sure that the safety of the dogs and the humans is like the utmost priority. And there's so much that goes into that without creating fear when people walk in. Like you don't want that, but there's so much finesse and training involved with that. And it, you know, again, it seems so like effortlessly executed, which is such a compliment. But the people that work here are highly trained, and we go through many tiers of that in order for them to get to the place where they are.
That's awesome. I personally can't imagine trying to open one of these things without, honestly, I can't imagine trying to do this without help or a consultant. So I think that for anyone who's considered taking a concept like this to another market, it's just it's a can't lose offer from you. I mean, I wouldn't even recommend pursuing without help. I mean, because what you've done is nothing, I don't say nothing short of a miracle. A lot of it is you, and you're a problem solver. You'll get it done. But to take all of like the body blows you've had and all the learning and all the problem solving for over 5 years and to instill that in somebody else, I mean, it's going to collapse time for these people if they want to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, it's that, because, you know, time is money,
Yeah.
you know, and there's so much that's riding, you know, there was many times that this deal almost didn't happen because there were so many pieces of that puzzle that need to come together at the same time in order to open. And so, I mean, it was about 3.5 years prior to that, you know, we've been open now, it'll be 5 years. We celebrate, next month, actually.
Woo!
So it's very exciting with our Renaissance Fair for the 5 year, but 3.5 years leading up to that point of opening. So there's so much planning and all of the stuff that you're trying to come together with prior to opening. And then once you open, it's just like balls to the wall. And then there's so much that's happening there. So there's a lot to be said when you can just ask somebody a question and have an answer and like feel, and it might not be, you know, it could just be a experiential conversation, and that's going to help sometimes bring your own ideas to light.
I like what you said earlier about like you have to fund it and you have to insure it. And if you've never done one before, that's gonna be, like we said, maybe 10 minutes ago, projections, you know, that's gonna be tricky, you know, and
So
like when you
tricky.
did this, when you said like Seattle and far distant markets,
Yeah.
demographics are, I imagine, very different in Seattle than Northeast Florida. So no, having you and then being able to go to those professionals and get the funding, the insurance, work with the city and permitting and design. I mean, people might have their own design, but
Right.
you also, I think you realize along the way, this property is in high demand and has a high parking demand. So
Yeah.
like if somebody opens another one, they're going to have to accommodate, assuming
Right.
they have a successful concept, they
Right.
have to accommodate for the demand and the parking.
Oh yeah. And like layout, for example, like some of the folks I spoke with were like, oh my gosh, didn't realize how that wouldn't work. Cause now you're not just thinking about, the flow of humans, you're also thinking about interaction with dogs as well. And there's so many facets to like checking people in, purchasing drinks, where the bathrooms are. Like there's so many pieces to that puzzle.
All right. Well, I think we're in good shape to jump into our closing question. All right. They're easy, but they've become one of my favorite parts because I learn about new places to eat.
I
Oh,
love
but
it.
why do you love Jacksonville?
I do love Jacksonville. I feel like it is such a like melting pot of innovation and small business right now, especially. There is so many unique aspects to the city. First of all, it's so huge, land mass wise, it's one of the biggest, they say, in the US, but that affords so many of these awesome little like niches and neighborhoods that have their own personality and like unique nature. Like Murray Hill, then we have the beaches. Like there's so many like diverse areas that are so cool and like have their own little, spirit to them. But then there's also like a lot of things that are coming to light, like, we have this local refillery here at the beach, and like they're just green initiative. Like everything is like you go in, you get your shampoos, your soaps, like these
Oh,
things that are like, trying to make a smaller footprint on the earth. And like that is what's supporting, the mission of all of us, and so these things that are happening and like showing up in our area, I think are just it's magical. And there's this piece that Jacksonville has, this like energy that Jacksonville has that makes you feel like it's possible. And it is like there's, people you can talk to, there's support, there's community. I've been doing this like conscious coffee group, and like we kind of come together and like talk about these ideas, and it's like this support that you can find in this place, and then the spirit and energy to like bring it to market, to reality.
mhm. I couldn't agree more. We're younger than your average city in
Yeah.
Jacksonville. And I feel like the people that are coming to Jacksonville, there's a lot of younger, creative people
Yeah.
that are maybe coming from more like established MSAs. And they're like, I want that to be in Jacksonville. I had it in pick your city, San Diego, Chicago, wherever, Atlanta. And they come here and they're like, oh, there's not a place like we had.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're starting to see like not all the seats are taken and people can come in here and try to like
And
implement their concept.
there's like plenty for everybody too.
Mhm.
It's never like a competition. It's like a community over that
Yep.
every time. And hey, I mean, it's bold. This is a bold city of the South,
It is
man.
the bold city of the South. We're living it. It's for bold people like you,
Hey.
Maverick dog park owners. All right. What is your favorite local restaurant?
Oh man. So many incredible places that I love to eat. And so many incredible local, like fancy restaurant, like the gamut. But I would have to say, and I can like smell it from here, essentially. It's like so close. Dos Vatos Tacos,
Mm.
is one of my favorites. Derek used to set up his stand here at the park, and he's been doing it for so long, and he's so creative. Like every taco creation has so many elements inside of it that are so unique and thoughtfully prepared together. Like it's just go eat it.
I love it.
Go eat it.
You introduced me to it. We're recording on a Monday. I had it this past Friday. So I fully endorse.
God,
So
it's amazing.
this is going to turn into like a restaurant review
Yeah,
podcast because this, yeah.
Dos
Just
Vatos,
fast forward to
mouth
the
is
end.
watering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Your favorite place in Jacksonville, a venue, a park, an experience, a trail, a location.
Oh man. Well, I would have to say, like right off the bat, like my peaceful, happy place is Hannah Park. Like I love going to that beach. I love walking. I love doing anything there, any season. Um, but I also love live music. So I also have to say Blue Jay listening room, because that is one of my like favorite places to go, and just you get to listen to the music. You get to have a fun drink, a fun cocktail, whatever you might love. I love Kara. Like it's a magical space, but it also showcases musicians and the work they do and their stories. And that is the most beautiful thing, because nobody's talking. You just get to really hone in and like appreciate and experience that artist and what they have.
I want to go.
You gotta go. It's a magical space.
Lastly, where can people connect with you?
So one of the best ways I always say, I think, is Instagram. It's so fun to literally just watch our stories. I have friends, I'm from New York originally, and I have some friends that are like, I literally just watch the stories from my office because it brings me peace and joy and it's therapy. Just watching dogs run around and be joyful. So Instagram, we also have Facebook, we've got a Twitter, all those
Ooh.
things, but our events are mostly posted on Facebook. We also, every Tuesday, will post our events for the week. And then folks can also sign up to get our event texts so that they know what we have going on, because we always have live music every weekend. We have food vendors and just always fun events like our, 5-year coming up on May 11th.
Awesome. I like it when you text me what's going on.
Hey, come on up. Kids are going to have a blast.
Yes. Oh, this has been fun. All right, Lauren. Well, I had a good time. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Ian, for having me. Appreciate
right.
it. Yield coach.
Yield coach is here. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Please share it with a friend. Give us a rate or review if you enjoyed it on whatever platform you're listening on today. It makes a huge difference for us. Allows me to bring you high quality guests like Lauren Wyckoff today. As I mentioned at the top of the hour, go to investwithacoach.com, enter your basic info, and never miss another networking, educational, or investment opportunity. If you like to scroll, ours is not as good as BrewHound's, but we are Yield Coach on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And that is a wrap on this Jacksonville Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Ian Brown, signing off and reminding everybody to lace up and leave it all on the field. Yield Coach out.
Boom.
Boom.
Didn't hit you in the face, which is
You did
good.